Go ahead. Make my day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Real Estate Realities with the Rebel Broker. My name's Robert Whitelaw, and I am the Rebel Broker, licensed real estate broker in the state of California, member of the National Association of Realtors. But please, don't hold that against me. Welcome to it, folks. We've got kind of an interesting one, kind of a market-specific one to talk about today. I came across an article, and this is exactly the kind of stuff that piques my interest. So I'm going to share that with you. See if it resonates with you as well as it does with me. I think it could spell a very interesting option, not only for investors, but I think if you look at it from the standpoint of why people might relocate to this area, it makes it kind of sexy. So we'll talk about that. Before we do, though, let's recap the easiest ways to get in contact with me. Of course, the easiest way is the website. We all know that, right? www.therebelbroker.com. And yes, I know you don't have to put the www. It's not 1999. People will know. Forgive me. From there, you can send along any ideas, suggestions, observations, or questions that you might have. You can take a minute to support the show. Click the red button at the top of the page, answer the survey, and you will be helping the show out in terms of just helping me get an idea of the demographics of folks who listen to the show. And we're going to go ahead and start doing the monthly giveaway that we were doing before. And what is the monthly giveaway, you ask? Are you that new that you don't know the monthly giveaway? Well, this was something we did for probably over a year and then sort of stopped doing it probably about 6 months ago. And it is a $50 Amazon gift card. Now, that's going to transition into not a gift card pretty soon. It's going to be winning a thing. But for right now, it's still the $50 Amazon gift card. And we'll go ahead and do a drawing for this right in the first week of October. So if you head on over to therebelbroker.com, you click the big red button, you use the same email address both times you're asked, answer a handful of questions, and you're in. You will be entered into the drawing to win. Now, for those of you who've been doing this for a long time and have already done that, thank you very much. Keep in mind that you still can win. It doesn't reset every month, just with new folks who've provided that information. If you did it 2 years ago, you're still in the drawing. So good luck to those of you who have not yet won, and congratulations to those of you that have. All right. So let's go ahead and jump in. This is one that came across my desk a few days ago, and the title kind of sparked my interest just because it's interesting to me because this could be a great option for California investors that don't want to invest in California. I had an interesting conversation with a listener a few days ago. Hope you're listening, Alice. It was a pleasure to talk with you. And we were basically talking numbers. You know, they're Southern California folks, and we were talking about the sexiness of data. And you know, she's got kind of an interesting team dynamic for herself. She's got kind of an inside track into a little bit more of the emotional side. It sounds like of the process, and there actually is absolutely an element of that. And then her husband is the engineering-minded, technical, prove to me with data we should do this guy. And I tell you, you couldn't have a better mix of folks doing this together. So I think that's fantastic. But they're looking for great options. And we were talking about Phoenix, and I still think Phoenix is a great place to look. The numbers are good, and they're very sustainable, right? It's not like it's a new thing. Phoenix has been doing great for years. What we're going to talk about in a second, though, could be super interesting. Because it's another state, right? Obviously, Phoenix is in Arizona. We're going to talk about Nevada a little bit. I'm not a huge Las Vegas guy. I consider Las Vegas to be sort of a one-trick pony town, and I apologize to all you folks who live in Vegas who don't agree with me. But for me, it's about the Strip, right? It's about people coming there for gambling and whatever else goes along with it, and of course, big shows, right? So big trade shows, those types of things. I get that those things happen in Vegas, but you know, what thing we've discovered about Vegas is that when bad things happen economically, Vegas tends to get hit hard because every element of that gets affected, right? If things are going bad for the folks, that vacation to Las Vegas is the first thing that gets on the cutting board, right? When businesses are tightening belts, what's the first thing they do? Well, they stop having their shows in these venues and start doing them in less expensive, more local venues. So anyway, that's kind of my vibe. And I don't see a lot of diversity, I guess, in what draws money and employment into Las Vegas. Someone wants to correct me, I'm happy to have that chat with you. But that's my vibe, right? As an investor, that's my vibe. So when I read this, because I also don't have much of I have almost the same opinion of Reno, which is the biggest small town or whatever that funny sign is that hangs over the main drag for Reno. Now, I have a little bit of insight into this. I've spent some time in Reno. My dad lived in Reno for a while, so he's got some insights there too. But what draws my attention to Reno and this article that we're kind of building this argument around, and it comes to us from housingwire.com if you want to check it out to yourself. And the title is Two-City Housing Boom Hits Nevada. Reno, Carson City Jump in the Veros Index. Now, we've talked about the Veros Index on the show before, but the specifics of what's going on just south of Reno, I think is kind of interesting. It's touted as the biggest little city in the world. During the past 90 years, Reno has become a much bigger little city, and today its 1.5 annual population growth, twice the national average, is driving real estate values. With nearby Sparks, Reno is an anchor city of the Reno-Sparks, Nevada Metropolitan Statistical Area. The latest Vero forecast from Vero Real Estate Solutions predicts that real estate in the MSA, Nevada Metropolitan Statistical Area, will appreciate at a rate of 9.5% over the next year. Let me repeat that because that's a good number. Real estate in that area will appreciate 9.5% over the next year, ranking it sixth out of the 354 metropolitan statistical areas included in the report. So that alone is a great thing. And it's mixed with great things because it's also one of these areas where you can get some great deals as an investor. All right. Carson City is also projected to see property values appreciate at 9.5% through May 31st, 2019. That ranks it fifth on the list. Their mid-top 10 slots show an acceleration in rising values, as neither was in the top 10 for the first quarter of 2018. Now, we've talked about these communities before in exactly that context, right? Rankings. Where do they fall? And we've talked about communities that make smart, balanced investments, right? When I'm going into an investment scenario, and again, all conversations we've had before, I realize for the long-term listeners, but for the new folks, whenever I'm considering investing in a property, I like to think, who is my customer here, right? Who's my renter or who's the buyer of this flip? Why do people move here? Why do people want to move here? And of course, there's usually not one answer. And actually, I prefer there to not be one answer. I don't want to have to say because they're going to work at the local casino, right? That's not what I want to be the 90% of the folks who are likely to be a customer of my housing product. I want to be able to say, well, they could be high tech, they could be manufacturing, they could be going to college, they could, you know what I mean? I like diversity. Just like I like having a diverse real estate portfolio, I like having a diversity of the potential clients customers that will want to use the residential product I'm providing. All right. So we've got an interesting fly in this ointment because this area has actually kind of achieved this, right? I look at it and I no longer see just a place for folks to go and gamble as a second, third, or fourth choice somewhere below Vegas, right? Which is obviously the number one choice. But there's another reason why I consider this to be a particularly sexy possibility. Number one, we've talked a lot about likely migration out of the state of California as time moves on. As more and more corporations come to the conclusion it's simply not worth it to deal with all of the burdens of being in business in California. And speaking as someone who has a California business, right? I incorporated my real estate business. There are little poke you with a needle taxes. I mean, regardless of whatever happens at all in the entirety of a year, if I make $0, if I make negative $20,000, if I make $100,000 or $200,000, no matter what happens, for the privilege of being in California, I have to pay $800. End of story. Bottom line. Plus, every year, if I have to file a piece of paper saying if something changes, like if my company address changes, any of that kind of stuff, I'm supposed to update the California Secretary of State with an update. Well, if nothing has changed, I still have to submit that I haven't changed anything, and I still have to pay. So I have to pay to tell them they don't have to do anything in terms of updating their data. And then let's get real anyway. How much updating do they really do? If I do it online, are you telling me that there's a human being between me entering it at the keyboard and it getting into the database on the back end? I bet not. And that's sort of mine's a teeny little company. Imagine all the bull. Once you get up to a certain number of employees, the burdens just get worse and worse. So anyway, one reason why Reno is sexy to me is it's really not that far away. If someone were to say, I'm going to move, if I'm going to tell you, we're going to move to New Hampshire, that's a heck of a lot difference than saying we're going to move from the Bay Area to Reno. Reno's not that bad, right? Heck, the high-tech folks here make a pilgrimage to Lake Tahoe, if not for the snow, then for the lake to jump around in, right? So it's already, I think, something that's in the psyche of people who live here. It's already something that's on the list of, that might not be too bad. I'd still be within driving range of getting back into California to enjoy what California has. I'd be right there just at the base of the mountains on the Nevada side of the border. This could be awesome. And I bet you would get an awful lot of takers if a company decided to relocate in this scenario, right? Now, let's talk about why I think this is a thing. If you ever want to find out more about this, let me suggest you Google Tahoe Reno Industrial Center. Now, this is an area just south of Reno, and I think this is the big draw. I believe that if we're going to start to see migrations out, it's things like this that are going to make it possible. And this is something that is very attractive, I think, to an awful lot of companies. It's also referred to as TRIC, T-R-I-C. The article explains it as, in the past 5 years, the Reno Sparks MSA has benefited from a successful campaign to attract tech to the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, which claims to be the largest industrial park in the world. There's more than 15,000 acres of pre-zoned, fully entitled, and in active development land is the site of the Tesla Gigafactory 1, and TRIC sees more to come from blockchains, Google, Jet.com, and Switch. So big names that we know are moving to this area. Now, why do we see continued stuff happening in the Silicon Valley area? Well, it's because it's to be near all the other players, right? Well, if you suddenly find a place that is 4 hours and 50 minutes, so 5 hours, a 5-hour drive away from the heart of Silicon Valley, the center of San Jose. That's not horrible, right? Less than a half day's drive. I think that's a pretty sexy alternative, right? If you're going to cut your expenses by a huge chunk, you're suddenly going to move into a state that does not have income taxes, and in addition, offers a far lower cost of living. So we're going to take a quick break right now. Then, when we come back, we're going to get to the really sexy part. We're going to focus in right on the area around TRIC, the Tahoe Reno Industrial Complex, and we're going to see what would it take to invest there. What is the barrier to entry to start investing in properties that would serve this area? Because I think it represents a pretty interesting opportunity. I know that I would love to be able to be less than 5 hours away from a potential investment in case something horrible happens. A lot of folks are worried about that. And it's a lot closer than my current investment in Hawaii, which is a 5-hour plane ride. So we'll be right back. And when we do, we're going to cover some of the realities on the ground in this area and see if they sound sexy to you. So don't go away. We'll be right back. Are you ready to jump in and start your search for your first investment property? Maybe you've decided that it's time to own your own home, or maybe you're ready to sell your home and move on to something new. No matter what your goal is, the Rebel Broker can help. That's right. Aside from hosting this show, I am also the owner, broker of Whitelaw & Sons Real Estate Services right here in Silicon Valley. With over 25 years experience serving Silicon Valley, Morgan Hill, San Martin, and Gilroy, I or one of my great agents can help you achieve your goals in real estate. So if you're ready to look into taking that next step towards achieving your real estate goals, point your browser at www.soldbyrobert.com. That's www.soldbyrobert.com and get in touch. Let me show you how I will earn your business and your respect. Again, that's www.soldbyrobert.com, or you can call me at 408-852-0525. California Bureau of Real Estate ID 00984-909. Welcome back, everyone. We are chatting about Reno, Nevada. I got to tell you, not a place I thought would figure prominently in a show. I've never really thought of it as a great investment location for some of the same reasons I've never really thought much of Las Vegas. But I think that we're in a situation where it presents from some very unique benefits, particularly given some of the realities that we've covered here in terms of companies looking for exits out of California. People who live in Silicon Valley, nearly 50% of them wanting to get out of Silicon Valley. I think you start putting that stuff together, you put the other elements in place, high taxes, high cost of living, all of these things, and more laws and regulations that are being talked about in terms of what's going to get imposed in California. And I think these options become super, super sexy. And Reno is just over the border from California, just on the other side of Lake Tahoe. And as we discussed a moment ago, depending on which route you take, it takes anywhere from 4 hours and 45 minutes up to 5.5 hours to get there. So it's an interesting option. And it's this area kind of south of Reno, heading towards Carson City, that is giving us some interesting options to consider. So let's go ahead and start with sort of a general overview. We'll talk a little bit about the market trends. What's super interesting, and this is what I did, I zoomed in on the area where Trick is actually located. And it's located at the intersection of the 580 and South Meadows Parkway. And there's tons of residential around that area. So we'll talk about some specific properties in these areas. We'll also take a look at what we're seeing in terms of rental rates in those areas. But let's get some general numbers first. Now, first, let's talk a little bit about the median sales price going back to the year 2000. Now, median sales price right now is about where it was at the peak in 2006. We're currently at about $350. At the peak last time, it was $340, but it never got lower than $140. It reached its lowest point in July of 2012. So clearly, you would have been a much happier camper if we had bought 4 years ago, 5 years ago. But I don't think that we need to worry a ton about that. So one thing that I've mentioned before on the show is historically look to see if the last time there was a downturn, this area was affected. So the answer in this market clearly is yes. The difference is we didn't have this technological draw. We didn't have this technology park thing happening in the area. And of course, you need to put some faith in that, but some big names have. So I think it's worth optimism to look into that. Now, if we also look at the number of sales, we can see that in 2005, 2006, we had the peak of sales in that area at around 2,400, 2,500. Never really recovered in terms of the number of sales, and we're still hovering at right around 1,500. It's been that way now, going all the way back to 2010, it looks like. And here's another interesting set of stats. I love what Trulia does with it. That's what I'm looking at right now, by the way, is the area breakdown for Reno on Trulia, and just some great numbers. So, and it's a great way to also get a feel for the challenged areas in terms of type of property. So one of their breakdowns here is a breakdown on property sales based on the number of bedrooms. Now, one bedrooms, June 6th to September 5th, $150,000. A year-over-year change of down 20.6%. Now, that's the only category of property where property values have gone down 20.6%. Now, I have no idea what the draw would be for one bedrooms, but with them dropping that much, remember we talked about the most vulnerable types of properties. 2-bedroom condos are an example. And of course, 1-bedrooms are also on that list. I'd make it even worse than 2 bedrooms, right? So it'd be interesting to see if we're not seeing other interesting things happening in their luxury markets in terms of what kind of price drops are happening in that matrix, right? In terms of the luxuries. Because remember, we talked about our market here where we saw 2 bedrooms going down in prices and we saw luxury properties going down in prices. And we thought that was kind of indicating a narrowing of the market, right? 2 bedrooms, June 6th to September 5th, $270,500, 8.2% year-over-year increase. 1 year ago, those were $250,000, and 5 years ago, those were $149,000. 3 bedrooms are currently at $352,500. That's a 6.8% increase year over year. 1 year ago, they were selling for $330,000. 5 years ago, $210,000. 4 bedrooms, $460,000, a 9.5% increase year over year. Let's see, 1 year ago, they were going for $420,000. 5 years ago, $298,000. It just makes me want to cry a little bit inside whenever you realize you've missed great opportunities like this. And now here's another table that they've added that I like. Median rent in Reno. They've got, you can check boxes to do 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, 4 bedroom. I always like to check 3 bedroom. And get an idea. And then it gives you the median rent. And the median rent right now is at a high point. And for 3 bedrooms, we're seeing $1,800. And for the average rent overall, we're seeing $1,850. So 3 bedrooms are renting for slightly less than the average. If we go for 4 bedrooms, that changes dramatically from $1,850 to $2,200 for 4 bedrooms. So this is a market where I'm going to look not just for 3 bedrooms. Now, if we look for 2 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms are way down there in terms of desirability. 2 bedrooms are renting for about $400 less per month. 1 bedrooms are renting for about half of what you're getting for your 3 bedrooms. So in terms of sexy numbers, I like the 3 and 4 bedrooms. You'd need to decide if you're not familiar with this market, I would strongly suggest you get hooked up with a realtor to find out what are some of the things people expect. Right? Is this an area where if you don't have a pool, for instance, you're not going to get rented first? Or is it one of those deals where pools aren't embraced as much, so you're going to rent last if you've got a pool? Different little things. What are the things that are really going to play a part here? I actually think in this particular market, worrying about a pool one way or the other probably isn't something you need to do. I'm imagining they have like real winters as opposed to the ones we have here. But again, you could Google to find out that information. Now, the next thing we want to do is, again, return to Trulia, but now we're looking at the homes for sale in Reno, Nevada. And again, I have put the location of the trick right there in the center of my screen at 580 in South Meadows. And what's super awesome here is at some of those, when you go look at the market trend screen, there are several different charts you can look at that are awesome. So first is sales price. List price is fine. List prices tells an interesting story. Apparently, in this part of Reno, everybody on the west side of the 580, or no, not the 580, the 395 freeway, really think their homes are worth a lot. But then when sales actually happen, a huge chunk turns from being most expensive to quite a few steps lower. So that's an interesting thing to know. There's obviously some interesting discrepancy between list prices and sale prices, which tells me I've got room to negotiate. It tells me I'm not getting 50 offers per property. I like that as someone who's going to be investing. Now, what they've also added here is rental price. Not horribly useful here because it's all one color. It's not going to really give you much information, but in other markets it may. So just keep in mind that that's there for you if you want to check it out. All right, so here I am. I have, at the current level of Zoom, I have it set to 3+. So, because I've decided that's my sexy number, right? The only other thing I really want to do is make sure I'm selecting 2 bathrooms or more. Just because that makes sense, right? 2 bathrooms are absolutely preferred. And let's just go with houses. So I'm going to set it just to show me houses. I don't want condos or townhomes or anything like that. And just for grins, I'm going to go ahead and select multifamily and see if that gets me anything, because if it does, that would be kind of cool to consider as well. All right, so I'm left with 78 properties currently listed, and I'm seeing at the very top of the search, I'm seeing one home for 1.79 million, 5-bedroom, 5-bath, 683 square feet. There's no way in God's green earth I'm buying that house. But then here we see a 4-bedroom, 3-bath, 2,900 square feet for $545,000. And that is located in a neighborhood not too far away from Trick. But let's look at some of the ones really super close. Here's a 4-bedroom, 4-bath, 3,500 square feet, $439,000, literally right next to where the Trick is. Here's a great little community right next door. 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,400 square feet, $318,000. Let's see here. $373 for a 3-bedroom, 3-bath. These are some beautiful this one's really nice. On Truckee Meadows Place. So what I'm getting at here is these are all homes that would definitely be desirable for anyone who lives or for anyone who works in these areas. So let's go ahead and see. I'm seeing a whole lot in the high 3s, low 4s. And because of the delta between in terms of rental income from 3 and 4-bedroom, I'd really want to check that out, because here's a good example. On Oakley Lane, I'm seeing a 4-bedroom, 3-bath, 2,200 square feet selling for $439,000. Right next door to it, I'm seeing a 3-bedroom, 2-bath selling for $429,000. Clearly, in that scenario, I would want to look more at the 4-bedroom, because for that extra $10,000, assuming we paid list price, which we wouldn't, the extra amount of money that we would make in rent would just be too awesome for us to pass up. All right, so let's go ahead now and pull up a screen that shows us in the exact same zooming map rentals for that area. All right, now in this area, I am not seeing anything super close, but here's the range. I'm seeing a 3-bed, 2-bath for $2,000, a 3-bed, 2-bath for $2,025, a 3-bed, 2-bath for $1,800, a 3-bed, 2-bath for $1,900, $24K for a 3-bed, 2-bath with more square footage, $2,400 with 3-bed, 2-bath, $1,095 for 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 4-bedroom, $2,700, 4-bedroom, $2,500. So you can see the nice big jump we're seeing when it comes to being a 4-bedroom, right? We're even seeing some 3-bedrooms that are actually being offered for rent up in that range. So let's go ahead. Yeah, every 4-bedroom I'm seeing here is either $2,500 or $2,700 a month. Let's go, because we want to remain competitive, right? We want to be the first one to rent at that price point. Let's assume we could make $2,500 a month on that. Is this no? That's a 3-bedroom too. Let's go ahead and assume that we would be able to rent for $2,500 a month. I think that's pretty reasonable based on the data I'm seeing. It'd be great if we could get some historical data. How would I get historical data, you ask? Well, I would create a search that searches this area on Trulia and I would favorite every single rental that fits what I think is cool. And then every single time one of those goes off of the market, you are going to get an alert that tells you that happened. So let's look at one of these 2,500 ones. Just because we want to get an idea of how long these things have been on Trulia. Okay, here's the $2,500 one. Went on Trulia today. It's been on Trulia for 0 days. If you want to check it out for yourself, it's 10461 Summershade Lane. 4 beds, 3 baths, 2,100 square feet. They're saying no pets. So these are all things you want to internalize yourself. And if you're discovering, for instance, if pets are super popular, you're going to find that those take longer to rent, right? If it's a no pets policy. Let's go ahead and look at the other one that was sexy, $2,700 a month. How long has that one been on Trulia? This one's been on Trulia for 9 days. Let's go ahead and look at a number. Now, why am I clicking on multiples? What data am I learning from this? Well, if I find one that's been on the market for 2 months, that tells me a story, right? But what I'm finding is that none of these 4 bedrooms, so far so good, have been on the market for longer than 2 days, except for this one. And this one is one of the furthest ones away from the Trick. This one is listed at $2,550, and it's been on Trulia for 26 days. So we start to see a potential barrier, right? So anything over 2,500, probably not smart. None of the other ones I'm seeing Let's see. Am I seeing any other 4-beds? Here's a 4-bed for, $2,900. I'll bet this one's been on the market for 14 days, and it looks completely vacant right now. So you're starting to see where the breakoff point is. It looks to me like once you go over 2,500, and this is all anecdotal, right? I get it. For those of you who are my engineering-minded friends, you may be clutching the pearls right now, but I'm getting an impression from what I'm seeing. I'm using the data of what's currently for rent and how long they've been on the market. So here's one of the more expensive one, $25.95. The price was recently dropped on this one from $27.95, and it's been on the market for 9 days. So here's someone who's aggressively trying to get their property rented. Now, here's the other thing you want to keep aware of as a potential landlord. It's not like when you're trying to sell a home and you want to list it for $1 million and figure if worst case scenario comes, I'll just keep dropping the price. That's a problem, right? But the rental market's a lot more fluid. So you could go in here like this guy did and say, you know what the hell? Let's reach for the stars. Let's try for $27.95. If you figure that you've got the cash to hold on to this property for a longer period of time, go for it. If I did, I might do what this guy did and say every 7 days, I will drop the price by X amount of dollars if I don't get any interested parties. And then as soon as you hit a price that hits an interested party, you're golden, right? You know you've maybe hit that sweet spot where you can get it rented. Or if you want to go aggressive, you're saying, all right, I own the property now. I need to rent this thing fast. You don't come in at the $25.95 or the $2,700. You come in at $24.95 or you come in at $25. Why? Because what we've learned from our statistical sample so far is once you get over that $2,500 mark for a 4-bedroom home, things start to go a little wonky in terms of your potential to get it rented. Okay. Now, as I said, getting more historical data will be served by you creating a search, and as new properties come up that fit the criteria of the kind of property you're thinking about buying, you favorite those, and Trulia will automatically email you when those properties are no longer on the market. Now, if you're like me and you're anal retentive about data, every single property that you're favoriting, you're entering into a spreadsheet. You're inputting the day it was put on the market, and you can calculate that, right? If you're looking at it today and it says 0, well, you know today's the day it was put on. If you're looking at it today and it says it's been on the market for 7 days, you know to subtract 7 days from what, right? It was 7 days ago. So that way you can get the date, and then you can use some math within your spreadsheet for it to calculate the days on market. Then you can input a checkbox of whether it's rented or not, and then you can have the days on market counter. When that checkbox is checked within your spreadsheet, it knows to stop counting the days, right? You could lock it in for that date, or you could enter date rented, right? Anyway, okay. So that's what you do. And then over a period of time, because remember, it's probably going to take you, a month or 2 months to find a property and get into escrow on it, and then to close escrow might be even longer. So during that time, you can be continuing to do this to learn more about how your market statistically performs for you. All right. So I'm liking the 4 bedrooms. I am thinking 4 bedrooms. I like the rents. I'm thinking we could probably do $2,500. And I think anywhere in this little zoomed up area that I'm looking at, and I'm pretty well zoomed in. I'm seeing Longley Avenue towards about 1/3 down from the top of the top, and I'm seeing 395 crossing. I'm seeing DeMonte Ranch Parkway crossing the 580 and the 395 at about the 1/4 away from the bottom. So I've got this whole residential wedge of stuff that's kind of bordered by South Meadows Parkway, Double R Boulevard, Diamante Ranch, Steamboat Parkway, Veterans something. And that's a whole nice big residential wedge. So that kind of attracts my attention. I also like the areas where I'm not seeing anything for rent to the north, but I don't have any data on it. So how would I decide if that's a good place to potentially rent? Judging by the layout of the streets, I'm seeing areas that look like they have a little bit higher density. But ground truth would be the thing. One way to get ground truth without going there is to use Google, the first person view in Google. Just drop the little man on one of those streets and virtually drive the neighborhood to see why those neighborhoods, from a rental standpoint, might be worth more or less than the area where we do have more data. Okay, so let's jump in and see what we think. Lots of interesting properties for sale. There are properties for sale up in the area to the north of the Trick, and there were none available for rent. So that's kind of interesting. And I'm seeing 4-bedroom, 3-bath, 2,100 square feet. I'm seeing $369,900. let's take a closer look at that one. I like the sound of that. If we're looking at crime, let's see if crime is the reason why we're seeing fluctuations here. Yeah, no, you know what? Crime is not a worry here. There is a little bit more crime up in that northern area around Huffaker Park. And then none in the neighborhood that was super sexy that had lots of rentals. So if you're even slightly, interested in avoiding that stuff, maybe. But judging by what I'm seeing here, there is no level of crime here that would concern me in this entire zone. So I wouldn't even make it a thing. All right, so let's assume that 369.9. The only thing we can't really assume is that we could get the $2,500 a month. It may be a difference in those neighborhoods. So again, you'd want to navigate through Street View and get a feeling. Navigate the area surrounding this. Judging by the home picture, it's a beautiful neighborhood. But let's go ahead and look at some of the areas, some of the homes in the area where we do have data. Let's look for let me actually set my search to 4 or more bedrooms so that we're really narrowing it down. Yeah, there's definitely a price difference. I'm seeing $439 for a home with what looks like a 3-car garage. I'm seeing $485. I'm seeing contact for estimate. No, thank you. $470, $517, $439. That's a beautiful home. That's a Craftsman. Oh, see, and we talked about the emotional side versus the engineering side. I see a house like that, and I'm like, that's an awesome house. It's architecturally interesting. It is not a cookie cutter house. That is a sexy, sexy house. And here's the deal. While an engineer may not quantify that awesomeness, a renter does. If a renter looks at this house, and let's talk about what it is. It's 10519 Meeks Bay Court. So if you feel free to follow me, go ahead and check it out. It's at the south end of this neighborhood, but still close enough. And it looks like it's just a couple of blocks away from a park. So awesome. And it's at the right price. The only thing that might upset me is if it has no garage. I am not a fan of homes with no garage. Here's another one that I think would work for us. 4-bedroom, 3-bath for $430. But this one just reeks of awesomeness. So let's go ahead and look at this one. Let's make this our target property. I do see that there looks like there's a driveway off to the side of the house. Let me see if it tells us anything about garages. Parking mixed, it says. I don't know what that means. Parking attached garage. All right. The sexiness just mounts. So I like this. I like the look of it. It has been on the market for 88 days on Trulia. I like that. That is almost 3 months. That is, in most markets, the sweet spot where sellers start going, what the hell's going on? So the probability of entertaining lower offers, it's already had a price drop. It was at $447.9 and now it's at $439.9. Does that feel like a seller's market to you? No, it does not. It feels a little bit more like a buyer's market. So let's say we were to go aggressive in here and come in at, say, $405. Yeah, maybe even lower than that if we're feeling spicy. And let's go ahead and see what the numbers look like here. And again, another sexy thing about Trulia. Scroll down to the bottom of this listing, and it's going to tell you what your monthly payment is. It gives you a home price. It gives you your down payment. It gives you the interest rate. And it'll tell you what's the principal and interest, what's the property taxes, what's the home insurance, what's the HOA. The only thing you got to do is figure in what other holding costs might you have, right? God, seeing property tax numbers that low for a year makes me cry a little. That is, the property taxes for a month is about 1/3 of what I pay here in California. Okay, anyway, sorry. So let's go ahead and put our number in. Right now, if we were to pay full asking price, and not including vacancy calculations or management stuff, the cost per month would be $2,265, and that assumes we're only putting down 20%, which would be $87,980. So remember, you want to take the amount of money you have invested. And if we look at this house does not look like something that needs a lot of work. It was built in 2001. things that likely might need work now. Water heater might need to be replaced. There might be stuff related to the HVAC system that needs to be done. Plumbing should be fine. Electrical should be fine. Of course, inspections would reveal all that stuff to us, and those are all things we could talk about once we're actually in escrow. But I wouldn't pay the $439. Let's say we could do it for $405. And I would put more down. Let's make it a nice round number. Let's make it $100,000. So then we'd be at $2,000 a month, which would have us profit cash flowing $500 per month. And that in my head, when I'm thinking about how much money I want to see coming out of a property per month, $500 is kind of my minimum, right? But let's do a little math and figure out if that makes sense. All right, without using any magical software, right? You didn't purchase anything. You didn't go out and buy it. You're not subscribing to biggerpockets.com. You're not using any of the software I've suggested. You're just using a spreadsheet, right? In which you could do going up, and you don't own a spreadsheet, you could go up to Google Docs. Google Spreadsheet is up there that you can use. Feel free. So what I'm putting in here is total costs. I'm putting my estimated gross rent and then my net rent after the subtract things out. So given all of those numbers, what I'm seeing is about $495 potentially that I would be getting on a monthly basis. So once I do all that math and then I take the total, I add up the profit, the net rent I get after expenses, comes to $5,940 a year. I divide that by my total cash invested. Now, right now, we're assuming that I put $100,000 down and I don't have any other expenses, right? I don't have to paint the house. I don't have to do any of these other things. You'd want to have the total amount of money you've had to throw at this thing is the number you want to use for the total cash invested. In any event, I divide that by the total cash invested and I end up with a 5.94 return on investment, right? Not horrible. I know a lot of investor friends who won't even bat an eyelash at that. They want something at least at 8%. So then that's when you start thinking a little bit. What are the things that you can change that make that a more lovable number? One way you could go is to offer even less. Now remember, this is us shaving over 30 grand. This is us shaving about 35 grand off of the asking price. Another way we could go is increasing the rent we charge. Now we talked about charging $2,500 in rent. I got to be honest, this is a unique property. This is a sexy looking house. Again, craftsman style. May not really be. I mean, it's probably a box like every other house, but it's been made to look what I think is a more attractive home. So I think our desirability is going to be higher. So maybe I go for that $2,600 mark and use that strategy to try to really gain a little bit more of a foothold. Because as soon as I do that, just a $100 increase suddenly gives us a return on investment of 7.14%. Right? So that's pretty respectable. All right, we're in the ballpark. And of course, it all assumes that we can get that purchase price of $405,000. And actually, the price that I have here assumed is $405,900. And here's the other part of this equation. As an investor, you need to get yourself calibrated to the idea that you make lots and lots and lots of offers on lots and lots and lots of properties. So you need to get rid of that idea that you're afraid you're going to insult somebody if you come in at a lower price. Because remember, for you, this is a math problem. This is not a, oh God, I love it problem. Now, I'm letting that part of the assessment influence me a little bit simply because I believe a house like this is going to rent before all the other homes that I've clicked on that are at the same price point. In fact, other homes with 4 bedrooms and 3 baths that are at a much higher price point, I think this one would rent long before those others, just based off of curb appeal. But here's one hiccup. Once you look at the pictures of the inside, that whole aesthetic appeal goes right out the window. In fact, it has some elements that are very common in the vintage of house this is, like 1998 to 2006, that I hate with a freaking passion. And it's all very standard. None of the aesthetics of the outside of the home are brought inside. So while the curb appeal is going to be great, and I think you'll get a lot more people walking in the door, I don't think you gain a bigger sell to buyers based on what's on the inside. It looks like every other house from that time period on the inside. I hate those little alcoves that they put like right next to fireplaces, which locked you into a certain size entertainment center and other kinds of things that now people can buy a 72-inch flat screen, whereas back then people were still buying tubes. So I hate that. I'm not a fan of that. But in looking through these pictures, I don't see a lot of work for a new landlord to make this thing rentable. Assuming all the infrastructure of the house is in good shape, it's got some carpets. You get those cleaned before you try to rent it. But I don't see anything in there that scares me off. So just as a first blush, the first property we hit, I think we are in a zone where we could possibly make this thing happen for a rate of return that isn't horrible. Not at the top. It's not double digit. Would I much rather be getting 10%? You bet. But you know what? That's going to happen when you get into more distressed properties that are going to need some work, where you can maybe get it for a whole lot less. You're going to spend a little bit of money after to get it up to par. And then once all those investments are calculated against your return, then you'll be making more money. All right. What else? I think we're kind of running out of time here. There's a couple other properties that would probably be worth checking out. I think the sweet spot in terms of rent is to be keeping it right around this point. After doing this first one, I don't think I would be looking at properties that are over $450,000, and I would be looking at every one of them with an eye towards negotiating that price down to closer to $400,000 or less. And I see opportunities here. I see one property here for $439,000 that's got a 3-car garage, which is a nice add-on. For $2,200, I think. And how long has this one been on the market? If you want to check it out, you can check it out for yourself. It's been on truly for 133 days. So there you go. This one is at 9445 Oakley Lane, and I bet this is easily one we could get for that $2,500 a month. And I bet we could easily get. And this one's reduced $10,000. So I absolutely think this is something that you could end up getting your hands on for lower than that, closer probably to $400,000. It would really depend. But make an offer on both of them. Make an offer on each one of these. Just see who accepts, right? Clearly the market here is more geared towards buyers and clearly worth looking at. All right, folks. This has been a semi-deep dive, right? We've kind of looked at a few properties. I hope it's been valuable information for you as we walk through this process. Take a look at this. See what you think. If you're like me, and I know I have an awful lot of listeners who are in Northern California, I got another big chunk in Southern California. If you are hesitant about buying properties in California simply because we've covered the data where statistically the lowest return on investment is all over California, this could be a great option for you because remember, you're also getting the tax benefit of no income tax. Now, that would be assuming you live there, which may not be your choice. It may not be what you're doing because you're living in California and investing in Nevada. But you're also not having to worry about rental rules relating to California. You're dealing with Nevada, which is a different place and gives you different rights. Now, I'm not going to tell you what those are or aren't in Nevada. I am not licensed in Nevada. So we'd need to talk to a professional in that marketplace to get better insights. But again, I think it's a great place for you to check out. Thanks again for listening, everybody. We went a little bit longer than I usually like to go. And I actually thought because we were going to be doing such a focused show, we'd end up cutting this thing before 30 minutes. Just didn't happen. I do hope we've left more value for you on the table than we absorbed in time. That's always the goal. Again, thanks for listening. I'll talk to you all next time.